We now have the consent agenda. Mr. Town Manager.
On the consent agenda this evening is the Virginia Department of Transportation Land Use Permit Continuous Bonding, request to transfer funds for the purchase of a new K-9, acceptance of donation for Culpeper Wellness Foundation for community education of substance abuse, a budget line item correction for the purchase of a Clara automatic meter reading server and software upgrade, acceptance of donation from Life Point Church in support of Lake Pelham Adventures, additional state fire fund received for Culpeper County Voluntary Fire Department, year-end transfers to balance general fund and general fund capital department budgets, uncollectible account write-offs, treasurer's reports, and minutes of previous meetings.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. There are no special items or correspond or recognitions, but now we come to the public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for town citizens, visitors, and delegations to comment on any of the items on the agenda tonight or to bring to our attention any government-related issues. Please state your name and place of residence for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have unfinished business, which is a motion from the closed session. Mr. Price.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, I move that council reappoint John Serio to the Joint Advisory Planning Committee to serve a 4-year term ending 30 June 2021, and Elizabeth Hutchins and Kelly Doyle to the Town of Culpeper Arts Commission to serve 2-year terms ending 30 June 2019.
Do I hear a motion for approval?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. All opposed, like sign? Okay. There is no new business and there are no public hearings, so now we're down to reports and recommendations from authorities, boards, and commissions, which are none. But we have from the council committees, Mr. Rapp.
Good evening, members of council. You have before you a report and recommendation regarding the Route 522 improvements project. This is a Highway Safety Improvements Program, a grant-funded project, 100% grant-funded through the state and federal government that was awarded to the town about a year ago. This report and recommendation is to award the engineering services contract for planning and engineering associated with this to A. Morton Thomas Associates, known as AMT in the industry. I can give you a little overview on this, this project, just as a summary. It's something we've been working on for almost 2 years now in concept. Really hasn't moved past that, but still I believe it has some big benefits to the community in that corridor. It involves the construction of a multi-use path from the roundabout at the Colonel Jameson Boulevard that will tie into Yale Meadow Park. New sidewalk along the northern section of the roadway heading out towards the Riverdale subdivision in between the existing edge of the road and the National Cemetery. It will take 1 lane of traffic and turn into a dedicated turning lane with raised median plantings where possible. Should improve lighting along the corridor, landscaping, pedestrian access across that corridor through pedestrian refuge islands. And it should also improve the intersection of Blue Ridge Avenue with the incorporation of a mini roundabout, which was a neat solution that this potential consultant proposed to us. Back in October, we issued a request for proposals in coordination with Department of Transportation's local assistance office here in Culpeper. We received 9 total proposals, went through some thorough review of all of those and selected a short list of 4 firms, which we interviewed a panel of town staff for an entire day. And unanimously selected A. Morton Thomas Associates due to some of the unique ideas that they proposed for some of the challenging portions of this project, as well as just their overall experience with local administered projects and particular projects of this nature. So we're excited to kind of get this thing moving and finally get into some of the planning and design of this project and move this thing forward. So happy to answer any questions on it that you might have.
Any questions, council?
Mr. Vice Mayor, Charles, what's the timeline of completion for this project?
Design should be anywhere from 9 to 12 months is kind of what they're thinking. Basically 9 months to get the final design, then we'll go through public hearings, stakeholder input, things like that. And hopefully by July of next year, we'll be going out to bid to receive bids for construction. Construction estimated to be about another, hopefully to finish by December of 2018.
Any other discussion? The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
There is a second. Any further discussion then? Now, okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Now, we move to 9.3B1, award of construction contract to Kiewit Corporation for the Mountain Run Lake MR11 and Lake Pelham MR50 dam rehabilitation projects.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, before you, report and recommendation for the award of construction contract for Mountain Run Lake and Lake Pelham Dam Rehabilitation projects. These projects have been in the design phase, as you're aware, for the last year and a half with help from Schnabel Engineering. The town is administering the projects. We have final design that was approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Natural Resource Conservation Service back in April. The prescribed remedy for both dams is the retrofit of what's known as a concrete reinforced labyrinth weir spillway, which will allow both facilities to pass the probable maximum precipitation event that's forecasted for our region of Virginia. Town solicited construction bids for the projects back in April. We had a mandatory pre-bid meeting with prospective construction bidders at the Police Department Community Room on May the 2nd. We had very good turnout for that meeting, that pre-bid meeting. Construction bids were opened on May 23rd, and in your package you have the bid tabulation sheets. The apparent low bidder is Kiewit Corporation. They're out of Omaha, Nebraska. They're the parent low bidder in the amount of $14,272,500. The parent low bidder has been evaluated and found to be qualified. There are monies available in the line item for administering these projects in the Water Capital Fund. We're keeping separate accounts for Mountain Run 11, which is Mountain Run Lake, and Mountain Run 50 respectively. The town match for this project is approximately 17% of the overall project cost, and funds expended during the course of the project are reimbursed directly to the town.
Jim, let me correct that. The reimbursement is 65% for NRCS and 18% for DCR.
Virginia DCR, correct. So we have involvement with federal and state matching funds for these two projects. The recommendation of staff is the council approves the award of the contract to Kiewit Corporation for constructing the selected remedy for a total cost of $14,272,500. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any
Yes,
questions?
What is the, Mr. I'm sorry. What? Okay. So that's 17% in dollars. What does that represent for the town match?
Approximately $2.9 million.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Vice Mayor, if I may ask, in the earlier discussions of this dam rehabilitation project, I thought we had estimated it to be about $16 million, and then this estimate here is just something over $14 million. So are we really saving close to $2 million from the original estimated cost?
You have to factor in the cost of design, which is approximately $800,000 to date, and then construction management services for oversight and inspection during the year-and-a-half long project. So it's project scheduled about 540 days. We anticipate starting the project later this month, if approved tonight by council, to proceed, and then completion is scheduled in December of 2018.
So the $14 million here, this is just the construction phase of this, as opposed to what we're spending up front.
Overall project is forecasted somewhere around $16.5 million.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
And of course, this project was mandated by EPA.
Yes, back in 2008, the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation modified their regulations, amended their regulations to require existing facilities to be able to pass the probable maximum precipitation event for our area, which is approximately 3 feet of rain in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
Any other questions? The chair will once again entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have the design and construction of an elevated water tank to service the southern portion of the water and sewer service area.
Yes, sir. The town entered into a two-party agreement back in August of 1991, and that was then updated in October of 2000 with 3 flags for the town to provide water and sewer to serve that development. As one of the conditions of that agreement, they were required to build 2 250,000-gallon tanks or one 500,000-gallon tank, with the first 250,000-gallon tank built before the 151st tap was constructed or house occupancy permit was issued. Unfortunately, a prior town employee entered an agreement or issued a letter to the developer saying he didn't need to build that tank until the 231st unit was built, although that conversation was not authorized by council and therefore is not binding. To date, 3 Flags has built 226 taps. They've completed phase 1 of 3 Flags, and now they are saying they're not planning on moving forward with the other phases and have requested their bonds to be returned from the town. We contest that and have issued a demand to build a tank associated with the project. In addition, as a separate project, Lifespire, Virginia, we locally know it as the Baptist Home, is constructing or updating their facilities, and they're required to build a tank associated with that and fire loop. They're currently planning on building a private tank and fire loop associated with their development, and that's going to cost about $500,000 for them to build that. So seeing as a potential opportunity for us to work out an agreement with 3 Flags, we started negotiations with not only 3 Flags, but also Lifespire of Virginia, as well as 2 additional large property owners in the area to see if we could create funding for an elevated tank that served the entire area and in a location that was better suited for the entire area and meet the town's and county needs in that area. We have a very small window of opportunity. At some point, the Baptist Home, they're currently under construction now, they will reach a point in their critical path where they'll be required to move forward with their tank that they currently have designed. At that point, we'll lose that potential for that $500,000 being devoted toward a tank. So in order to keep that window open, we need to move forward with design. So what we're asking for this evening is permission to award a design contract to continue with the design of the elevated tank, as well as continue negotiations with the various parties to hopefully fund the entire cost of the elevated tank project. I do need to point out in the recommendation that you have before you tonight, the recommendation was modified slightly at the committee level, and when that was transposed, a sentence was left out, and that sentence is that council authorizes the transfer of $119,000 from water enterprise reserves to Southern Area Elevated Water Tank Project to design a water storage tank and associated water lines. And that will allow the monies to be put in the budget, to be spent, and then it's followed up by the language that you currently have in front of you, which is the $92,000 for the design, surveying, geotechnical, and bidding services. And then if the tank is ultimately built, to another $26,500 to do the design services during construction of the project, for a total of the $119,000. and further to allow staff and council to continue negotiation and contract negotiation with the various parties.
This has been before various committees, and John, do you have any questions for?
Couple things. I think this is a great idea. I think it shows that we are prepared to work with partners both on the private side, public side, but also for future, who knows, future expansion down the road. I think this really just shows that we're thinking ahead, getting out of the box. My question to you is, could you talk just briefly about the benefits to the hospital and the benefits to fire department in that area of Culpeper, the town, from the Baptist home to the hospital?
Yes, sir. Currently, the town has fairly deficit fire protection in the high levels or the high elevation areas of town, and especially the southern part of town, as well as the town environs, which is the area where the Baptist home is. That's why they would be required to build a storage tank as well as fire flow if we did nothing for that area. Currently, the requirement for the Baptist home is 2,500 gallons per minute. We can currently provide about 1,500 gallons per minute to that area. In the higher areas of the town along Route 15, we have some areas we have almost no fire protection in those areas. The hospital, as you mentioned, we currently have 1,500 gallons per minute of fire protection in that area, which is good for residential, not as good for commercial, and this tank would allow 2,500 gallons per minute at that location. Also in the Lover's Lane area, which is the kind of the commercial corridor out there in the county, this would provide 2,500 gallons per minute in that area, which it's currently around 1,500 gallons. So it provides a lot of benefit pretty much from downtown south for the system.
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments? Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion is carried. I now direct your attention to the manager's monthly report. Does anybody have any questions for the manager on the monthly report?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I do have a question. I guess it's somewhat related. Last week, I noticed around some of the major streets and roads around town, there were cables across with these VDOT boxes off on the shoulders, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who was wondering what kind of data they were gathering. So can somebody explain what the purpose of that was?
So, to answer your question, VDOT, we work with them, we partner with them on conducting regional traffic studies or surveys. Just this past week, they deployed survey strips for traffic counting on all the arterials, the primary highways, and some of the urban collectors that we have in our system. They collect that data, and then they plug that into a simulation model for our area on the 29 corridor to plan future traffic needs. And we also use that data, too, for a variety of purposes as well, for making changes to arterial traffic through town and any changes we might have in our urban collectors as well.
All right, so this is something that they just periodically do as a program and just monitoring our traffic situation?
Correct. That's
Okay.
correct. Welcome.
Any other questions or comments? I thank you for being here. We are adjourned.